Okay, welcome everyone. We are going to start, say, in another 2 minutes, just waiting for everyone else to join in. Our speakers are already here with us. Yay. So just another 1 minute before everyone else joins. Please feel free to share the link. We are also live on Facebook as well. So feel free to share the link to invite your friends, invite everyone um, to join us at this conversation on creative innovation and how to stay relevant in the creative industry. So this was supposed to be a women-only event, but then I'm seeing some men in the in the audience. So, and that is fine. You are very welcome. You are very welcome to join the conversation. Okay, it is 7 minutes past 12, and I think we can officially begin, right? Because I know everyone has a busy day. So, welcome to another Jobberman webinar. My name is Sheila OJ. I am the communications manager at Jobberman Nigeria. And today we're going to be having a discussion on creative innovation. As you may know or may not know, this month we're celebrating the creatives, and it's the Creative Month at Jobberman, right? So as part of our mandate with the MasterCard Foundation, we are training 5 million young Nigerians over 5 years. Now, if you followed us for the last 1 year, you would have heard this over and over again. But yes, we are training 5 million Nigerians over the next 5 years, and we are placing 3 million of them in work. But one of the industries or one of the sectors that is very, very important to our hearts is the creative sector, because the creative sector is one of those sectors that, we're still learning a lot about. However, it is one of the highest employers of labor in the country, right? Tomorrow happens to be World Creativity and Innovation Day. And so we decided, you know what, why don't we have a conversation today around creative innovation? And I'm glad to have three of my favorite people here with me. And so to me, this is more like, gisting with people that have a special place in my heart, right? Um, First person is Folashaya Okay. She will introduce herself in detail later. Was Folashaya Okay Shobo, who is the CEO of Source Productions. There's Annie Icha, who is an actress, a producer, and writer. I'm sure some people might have seen her in a few movies recently. But she's been acting for a while, but most people are just seeing her on screen. And finally, Ogwa Iweze, who is the creative director of Design Babe and one of my favorite like fashion designers. Because first of all, she's a babe. Second of all, she's actually one of the best in the industry. So, so as you can see, what we have represented here is the fashion industry and obviously entertainment and all-round creativity, really. And I'm really glad that the three of you could be available today for this discussion and just to talk about your story as well as how you have stayed relevant all these years in this industry, right? And I know not everybody started out in the creative sector. Like someone like Shaya and I used to be in investment banking together. So, so not everybody started out in the creative sector. So I'm very interested in knowing how, we were all able to transition from that, from our different fields into the creative, or if we were just naturally creative from the day we were born. So before we go into the questions, I would like, you ladies to please introduce yourselves. And for everyone in the audience, we will have Q&A. As we're having conversations, please feel free to drop in your questions. And we will also have like a few minutes towards the end, maybe like 5-10 minutes for us to answer more questions in detail. But please feel free to drop in your questions in the chat box, right? Yes, I think I have shared the link to YouTube as well. So if you want to share with anyone, please share the links to your friends and family to join in on the conversation. So over to you, Shayo. Just tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and yeah, how you ended up in the creative world.
All right. Thanks a lot, Sheila, and hello everyone. So excited to be here. I think for me, I like Sheila said, I started off with investment banking. Um, yeah, which is like a very far cry from where I am right now. Um, so in terms of being creative, I've always liked the creative space. I've always kind of contributed to it in different ways. And the best part of my work as an investment banker was always deal origination, which is the most creative part. This is how we kind of put deals together. So I have been drawn to creative space for the longest time. And I think I got really more immersed when I started writing musicals and plays for this person's house. It was very strange because my day job was investment banking, and then after I get off work, I'll be running back to kind of write music and write plays and all of that. So that's pretty much where my interest for this space kind of started from. In terms of the transition, it was more of a purpose thing. Like I started finding more passion and drive in the creative aspect of my life versus my 9 to 5. I'm the kind of person that likes to give 100%. So when I don't feel like I am 100% in a place, I feel like it's time to gradually exist before you start becoming before you start becoming like you don't know what you're doing. So it got to that point for me mentally and in my purpose work pretty much that I was going to veer to the creative space. It was not the easiest decision because as an investment banker, I was earning a very decent salary, and it used to come at the exact day and time that they say it's going to come. You get to alert, you're happy, you know. And I remember resigning 2013 December, and in January, I think we still need to get paid on the 24th. In January, I remember on the 24th, my friend who was an investment banker said, put a post up and said, "Oh my God, thank God I got an alert." And that was the first time in like years I wasn't going to get a salary. I was like, "Oh my God, this is there's a problem here," and so for me, it's a thing of taking advantage of the structure I'm coming from and putting that in this new industry I'm coming from. Because as a creative, you know that one of the things that we struggle a lot with is structure. We allow our passion and all of that to take us away, but then we forget the importance of structure. So one of the things that I have found very interesting in my journey is taking the structure I've learned and in the previous career and using that to channel the course for my new career, which is being managing a production company. So I manage a production company of create content. So I think that's pretty much how I transitioned. It was not the smoothest transition. There's a lot more, there's a lot more like stories there. But then what I feel was very powerful in this journey was knowing that I was in the space that I wanted to be and then giving it my all, pretty much. And that's what I have been doing since the moved into this space. I guess that's a nice way to sum it up.
Thank you so much, Shayo. That was actually very, I can so relate to that, expecting the alert at a specific date and time and then not getting, and then not seeing that alert. Ogwa, so if you could just walk us through introduce yourself, obviously, and then tell us about your creative journey as well.
Hi. My name is Ogwa Iweze. Thank you, Sheila, for inviting me here. I am. To be honest, like it's interesting because when you say creative, it's like it says so much. Like there's just so much that goes into being a creator. Sometimes I don't really consider myself a creator as much as other people because I see some really really deep creators. But yeah, I guess, in a way I am. I started out my journey as an accountant. I studied accounting. I did my ACCA exams and all that, but I guess that I always liked fashion. I was always that person who I would always be the one who would finish all my money buying clothes and not really plan for the next day. A very big characteristic of creatives is not thinking about money, letting the passion drive and all that. But over the years, I guess that, becoming a brand owner and setting up design as a brand had made me realize a lot of things that, yes, passion is there, creating is there. It's amazing to have creative designs and everybody's going and eyeing, but more importantly is, the money, the finances, like how is your business thriving? So I would say, I have transitioned to a creative person, but also with the idea that I have to sustain my life and I have to make money to be able to live and all that. So fashion is my passion. I've always wanted to, create clothes. I like dressing up. So it came naturally to me. It wasn't like, I didn't start out as a business owner per se. I started out just wanting to dress people up, and then it has transitioned over time to where it is today. Design is a women's wear brand. We do wholesale, retail, manufacturing of women's wear garments. And the goal is to become a proper brand like you would find on the high streets of the UK and the US, and be sustainable and have, financial success as well. Yeah, so that's it in a nutshell.
Thanks a lot, Okwa. Thanks a lot for that. And I didn't know that you actually are an accountant. So wow, that's interesting. Okay, so Annie, please introduce yourself and then tell us your story.
Hi everyone. Hi Sheila. Very, very good to be here. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Annie Icha, and I am an actor, a writer, and producer. Where did I start? Well, the truth is, I think I've always sort of been in this field. The reason that it wasn't really apparent was because as a kid, I was really shy, painfully shy. And I'm an introvert by nature. So I'm more quiet, more reserved. And you generally think that this kind of profession is left for the extroverts, people with big, massive personalities, So I did a lot of things before I finally decided, you know what, I'm going to do this because this is what I love. This is what I think I'm supposed to be doing, and where I think I can create the most impact for other people. So I've done it all, I think. I have worked in renewable energy, let me say, as far as that from what I'm doing now. And that was the last corporate thing I did before saying, you know what, this is it. I'm going to take the plunge. And it was tough. It's not the easiest terrain to navigate because, like Fola said, really no structure within the creative industry as a whole. And carving out structure for yourself, it takes time. Getting those wheels to run on their own takes a lot of time as well. It takes time, sweat. Most times you want to give up and turn around, So while it is rewarding in that you feed your passion, and we need passion to survive, it's also really tasking because you also need money to survive. So yeah, that's the story in a nutshell. I'll stop there.
All right, thanks a lot. Yes, we all need money to survive. We really do. Well, thanks a lot for that introduction. Okay, so my first question, really, and that's for anyone that is open to answer, is so I'm so interested. I'm excited or fascinated by everybody's like history, right? How we all started out somewhere and then just ended up in the creative. And I say we all because I happen to be one of those people as well. Started out somewhere and then ended up in somewhat creative, right? Um, so my first question is, what was that thing that made you realize, you know what, let me take that plunge? I know that Shayo answered a little bit about that when she said it was just about purpose. But what was that thing that just made you say, you know what, let me chase this, the creative world. This is what I was born to do, and let me just follow it to the very end. So, Ogwa, could you?
Okay. So first thing I'll say is no offense to any creative person, but we're a little bit crazy. We're not like the most rational people. We're not the most like very structured, because I have friends who are like really structured. Their whole lives are like planned. Everything is like set up. They know exactly what, the future holds. I don't know how to explain it. And I look at them and I'm like, wow, you guys, wow, but in a way, I feel like creative people, yes, are fun. There's something about creative people that just shows spontaneity. Like, you're not necessarily the most, you plan your day to day, but you kind of somehow maybe listen to your instincts. You sort of draw from some voice from within that just tells you, do this, do that, don't do this, do that. And I'm speaking personally. So in my own case, I would say that it was always there anyway. So it was just a matter of, it kept telling me like, you need to do this, you need to do this. And somehow one day I found myself doing it. It was not it wasn't defining, it wasn't like a very thought out thing, but I feel like that's our gift. We have the gift of being able to, just act out on the moment. Sometimes it happens, it's good, sometimes it's bad. But somehow as a creative person, I feel like I didn't have a defining moment per se, but I've transitioned as my sort of intuition led me to do it. So even in terms of my personal brand now, in the journey into influencing as a person, there was no plan. It was literally just one day, a conversation, and the next thing I saw myself promoting a brand, and the next thing I got an offer from another brand, and somehow I found myself in this place. So I don't have like a very like fairy tale story of how everything happened. But I would say to anyone out there, like, if there's something bugging you, it's probably your creative spirit that is just like wanting to come out. And it may not happen as organized as other people's own happens, but you will find yourself staying awake at night and thinking about certain things. You need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this. You may not end up doing it, you may end up doing it, you may not do it the way you plan to do it, and it may come like suddenly. You may just stumble across an opportunity, and the next thing, you are this big creative person and you don't know how it happened. So yeah, that's my own take.
Thanks. Yes, Annie, yes.
I would say, much like what Olga just said, most people, I don't think I had one of those moments either. I think it came to like an accumulation of many moments, many nights that you couldn't sleep, many times where you would see someone doing the thing you want to do, and it just bugs you so much that you're like, you can't sit still. Do you know what I'm saying? And you can't stop thinking about it. It's almost akin to when someone asks, how do you know this person is the one? How do you know they're the one? And you're just like, I know, I feel it, because we're spiritual beings. You know what I'm saying? And creativity is part of spirituality. And it speaks to you from the inside of you. You might not have any proof that you can show anyone. And truly, truly, we look like we're crazy. But when you finally take that step and you do it one time with the fear, with the nerves, even if you fail that first time, there's a wholeness that you feel that you hadn't felt before. And I think that's one of the things that keeps people going, that because especially Nigeria, because it's not the most rewarding thing, but you feel whole. Do you see what I'm saying? So that would be the defining thing. It was the search for wholeness that sort of pushed me into, you know what? I can't stop thinking about this thing. And I'm like a dog with a bone. And most quiet people, we are notoriously stubborn. So if you latch onto something, unless you do it, do you see what I'm saying? So that was kind of my moment. It was just the fact that I couldn't let it go. Yeah.
Shaya.
It's so funny that a lot of things that everything I can still read, like just having that thing inside of you that just bothering you. And it's so funny because it doesn't just bug you, it also bugs everyone around you. To the point you're like, just gonna do this thing because you're like stressing us about it. You know, you want to talk about it all the time. You want to do this, but then you're afraid to do it. You're bugging me. Like, what do you need? Do you need me to do something to help you get so I can stop hearing about the stories or the song or the music or the whatever? Just get it out there. So it's definitely something that like Annie said, that in it, and it's something that kind of like wakes you up at night and like disturbs you. So I remember like when I decided to step out and we're kind of started the company, there the passion, like I remember going to pitch and for like jobs, and you're pitching and with companies that kind of have like years of experience, and you're there and you're like, we can do this thing, and they're like, the guys like, this is so hard, like you haven't done anything before, like how do I know like anything? I can look at me, I can do this. Like that, like because at the time not having like a portfolio to show, but then just having that thing instead of like you have to give me this thing to do it, and you do that. I remember that the first project we ever worked on was for a company called Solar Force, and I remember that the subsequent pitches that I'll go for after that, when you say, oh, what company have you worked for? And that's the only company I worked for, by the way, at the time. I was like, bars, and and just companies in that space. Like what other companies have you worked for? But then it's just this drive and this stage that you are creative that you move to. And and like everyone said, like you just know, maybe if you're in the, for example, in the 9 to 5 state, you just feel contained in it. Like you feel like you're being restrained. Like it's not like the structure is not good, but then it's just a form of restraint. And I think I felt that towards the end when I finally resigned. I kind of felt like I was boxed in and I couldn't like I had to work within a certain type of conference. And there are people who love that. Like there are people who love the fact that their days can be pre-programmed in a sense. Like I can wake up in the morning, I'm gonna get to work that's here, and work in now. The people who love that. So for me, I didn't. Even as much as I run a company now, I kind of walk around the clock. Like there's a potential that you call me at 3 a.m. in the morning, and I'll be awake reading something or reading something or whatever. And that's because I'm so into it. And I believe that if for every single thing, like if you commit your life to anything, whether being creative or having a very 9 to 5, you want to be like 100% in it. So if you're not 100% where you are and you have this burden instead of you to do something else, there's a huge likelihood that is where you're supposed to go. Like you're not supposed to be where you are, and you're going to where that thing is pulling you from here.
Oh, thanks a lot. I mean, so I can relate with I can relate with basically everyone's story, really, with just having that thing that is just bugging you, and you just get into that point where like people are just tired of hearing of hearing what it is. So it's interesting. So when we're putting this event together, initially I was told I was going to come speak about creative innovation from my own experience. And I thought, you know what? No, I would rather have a conversation with other people who I have seen transition over time, because just like I mentioned, Shaya and I started out in investment banking, and somehow I was always writing on the side, and it was a hobby, it was a hidden hobby. It was one of those people would find out like, oh my God, you have a blog? And I'm like, yeah, I do. And I would shy away from, telling people that I was actually a writer. And I remember my very first stage play called Single in Giddy. It was someone seeing the blog and going, you know what, let's make this a play. And I thought, are you crazy? What do you know that you're doing with this? And I went ahead and said, okay, you know what, let's give it a try. And it's amazing how over time, I just ended up like in that creative space, right? Um, and being in that creative space, and then now finding myself now as communications manager for Jobberman Nigeria. And so you have that. So I have the 9 to 5 structure as a creative, right? So one of the things I love about communications is that it is a mix of, I say it's a mix of creativity and strategy, right? So it's never a dull moment. You're working on this content, you're working on, something else, you're looking at things from a business side. So, and then there's obviously still the creative side of me that is still there. But then there's something about the creative industry and being in the creative industry and once you're in it, there's something about it that it changes you, right? And so that leads to my next question is, how has the creative industry changed, or how has being in the creative industry, like when you look at yourself, the person that you were before, and then you now decided, you know what, like for Ogwa, I'm going into the business, but yes, I'm going into designing. How has it changed you? How has it changed your thought pattern? How has it changed your personality or your view of life? So anyone can answer that.
Um,
Okay. Okay.
what first, Fasha?
No,
Please
you
go
can
ahead.
go ahead. Oh, okay, cool. I think for me, what it has done for me is like finding a potential story in almost everything around me. So I can experience something or see something and be like, oh my God, that would be a nice, story. Or that would be a nice act. Or that would be a great jingle, or I'm driving and the police guy does something funny and I'm like, okay, so we have to circle this 50K that we work on. And I'm like, oh, that would be a great scenario. Like I can imagine if, this person interacts with this person this way. But then I think for me, it's the ability to view everything around me, or to see all my, like the summation of all my experiences, and use that as part of my day-to-day activities as a creative. It's just a blessing. Like sharing a song, or even sometimes meeting people and their personalities. There's something that strikes me about them. It's like, okay, this is like we're talking, but then I'm just so mesmerized about who you are, and I'm already envisioning you as something else, and it just makes it makes my mind work like an overdrive in a good way, like everything seems to be like a potential, um, has potential, a new story, new opportunity to just explore and bring something that no one has done before. That's what has done for me as an individual.
Annie?
Okay. How being a creative has changed. Hmm. So I'll say this: it has changed my relationship with fear. And what I mean is, it's not that you're not afraid anymore, that you don't feel fear. But when you're in a system where things have already been predetermined, pre-organized, you have to follow it, because 1 + 1 in that system equals 2. And if you do 1 + 5, you're not going to get 2. Then you're going to get a query. Then you're going to get in trouble. Then you're going to get fired. So you have to do it. You have to follow that structure. And failure in that sort of system is a lot more daunting and a lot more, I suppose, final. But within the creative sector, you approach failure a different way. Part of creativity is, I'm not going to say failure, but destruction, and not destruction unto itself, not just because you want to take things apart, but you take a thing that exists apart so that you can understand it, so that you can create from that space. And part of taking it apart is failing. It's doing a show and having 5 people come when you wanted 1,000 people to come. It's writing something that bombs so bad, and in your mind, that was your best work. And they're like, well, auntie, go back to the drawing board. You see, so it changes how you approach fear and failure, because they're no longer adversaries in a sense. They're almost like allies, because when you work alongside these things, they allow you to create freer, with a lot more, with a lot less, what's the word I'm looking for? With a lot less limitation. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, so being a creative makes you look at fear and failure much differently than if, you were in I suppose, a different industry. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so I totally agree with what Shayo and Annie said. In addition to that, I guess that, you develop in so many ways. Your confidence is so high. And it comes with time. I can't believe that, for me, it's like even simple things like maybe asking to create content for a restaurant, for example. I could be filming in front of 1 million people and I really do not care. Like people are watching me and it's just like, whatever, and, people will be asking like, how do you do this thing? And I'm just like, it's literally like jumping off a cliff. Once you jump, then you're free falling. The wind is in your hair and everything. You don't really mind that you're going to hit the floor. You literally are just, you believe that you're going to fly. So you start to see things very differently. You start to develop yourself. You start to think about life differently. I just love the fact I've always been a spontaneous person anyway, so it wasn't like new, but it just made me realize how much more that I would live life with, not being too serious, not being too calculating, and just realizing that every day comes with its challenges, but just being a consistent person, showing up every day would make the difference. So I'm a lot more consistent. It doesn't matter if whatever happens, I will show up every day. It has taught me so much about even relationships, how far you can go with relationships, managing and, protecting relationships, and, especially when it comes to business, because as creatives, like I said, sometimes you're not thinking about business. You're not thinking about the money, the naira and kobo. But so, for example, if you're a creative person on here listening and someone says to you today, because you've been so consistent, putting out content, they ask you, hey, what's your rate card? And you get stuck. You're like, what is it? What's a rate card? What does it mean? I didn't even understand. And so you have to be prepared on all levels. And, the first time it happens, it's like a shocker. But after that, it's just like, yeah, this is what I charge per post. This is what I charge for this. This is and you become just so confident. I see it in a lot of people developing themselves and becoming just, whole and being happy with who they are. So that's what I'll say.
Okay, thanks for that. So, like I said, this event is actually supposed to be a women-only event. There are a few men in the audience, but that's fine. You're welcome. We're glad that you're here. And also just because, we can keep just talking, but just please, if you have any questions, feel free to drop it in the chat section. And also, if you're watching on YouTube, please feel free to drop your questions as well, because I see there are a few people watching on YouTube as well. So now let's talk about women in the creative industry. Now, the creative industry is big, right? It's vast. Some parts of it are female dominated. Some parts of it are very male dominated, right? But we just want to talk about it in general. I guess my first question when talking about women in the creative industry is this. Has your gender affected, or do you feel, let me backtrack, how do I rephrase this question? Has being a woman been of a benefit or an advantage, right? Is that the female advantage? Because every once in a while you hear this female advantage thing. Is there a female advantage being in the creative industry? Or do you think it's just there's nothing like a female advantage in the creative industry?
I'm going to jump on this one. If by advantage you mean you get to choose the size of the seat you're bringing to the table, then yes. Otherwise, no. And I'll tell you why I'm saying that. As a woman, oftentimes you're going to find that you're bringing your own seat to the table. Most tables are designed for the men. They're designed for, and they accommodate the man and his perspective and how he wants to run his business and what he feels is profit and all those things. And you often find that if a woman is coming to that table, you're coming there to stand or perch somewhere. So you have to bring your seat. And how you do that is by the value that you create. Because the thing or the truth is, if you bring value, you will have a space at the table and they will shift for you. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's not an advantage in that we live in a patriarchal society. That's the way the world has been conditioned for centuries. However, I think that there is a sense in which the underdog has an advantage because of his position or its position. When you are not seen, there is the motivation to make sure that you are seen, as opposed to someone who has just been seen just by default or by nature. They don't have to do too much. So you find that with women, excellence is, I'm not going to say it's a given, but it's an easy it's easier to achieve. Not because there's not hard work involved, but because we have been conditioned that if you have to do 5 as a man, as a woman, you do 10 before you are seen at the same level of the 5 that the guy has done. And so it's conditioned into your psyche and into the way that you think and the way you live. It becomes a part of you. So when you're doing your normal, you are doing someone else's excellence. Does that make any sense? So that's how it's an advantage, but it's not an easy advantage. I think that's the way I'll answer that question.
Yeah, Shire.
Yeah. Okay, so I completely agree. I feel like as as a woman in this space, you have to bring value, like because there's already this second guessing that comes with um you coming and having a conversation. Like there's already this sense of you not being able to deliver, at least from some of the conversations that I have had, especially where people are not as open-minded. The organizations or people that I've worked with that have not been open-minded. In fact, I remember once that I was on a set and I was very upset with um, my art director, and the art director was a guy. So I was having a conversation with him, and just very deep, and I'm not for shouting at people. So I was actually having a very constructive conversation, and he pretty much just ignored me, like throughout the conversation. And then my assistant producer, who was a guy on the project, walks up to me, and he was great, and then he looks at him and says, "Look, this is my problem." And I'm like, hold up, back up. So I've been talking to you for like 15 minutes, and you didn't say anything or didn't have anything to say or didn't address any of the issues. But then he walked up and you have to say, "Why is that?" And then my assistant producer said, "That's not how the issue," because she actually hired me to finish this project. So, but the bottom line is that there's a general sense of what do you have to offer. So you don't joke with value. You don't joke with excellence. Like excellence is not an option. Like every single thing you put forward, you put your best foot forward. And like there's no place and yeah, there's times where you want to like compare or second guess yourself, but there's really no room for that. There's no opportunity to do that because you always have to step up your game up, and it can be tiring, but it's also a great thing because it then ensures that you're at your A game at all times. And the beautiful thing about excellence is that it cannot be covered up. Like people would see that you are good and people would reach out to you and say, "Hey, I need you to do this." Because at that point, it will no longer be about whether you're female or male. It will be about who can deliver. And I will call her because she can. So it takes time to prove yourself. But then if you're in the space where you're still trying to, this is just an encouragement that you should continue to continue to try and prove yourself and to try and deliver value. Whether you're creative or whether you're 9 to 5 space, whatever it is, like it's essential that you bring value because value is something that doesn't have gender. Value has no gender. Like value is what everyone wants. So if you can deliver it and then you, like Annie said, you have a seat at the table. And you have to kind of put that in your purview because if you allow like the things that people say or the way you feel to deter you from moving forward, then you're doing yourself a disservice because ultimately you know where you want to get to. So a lot of things that happen are just like stepping stones to get to where you want to get to. You understand? So and just another thing that being in this space has taught me is how to maximize feedback. To be honest, starting off I didn't I don't I don't like when people are very critical of my work or who I am. Like I take it personal because I feel like what? But then what it has done for me as a person is being able to embrace feedback, whether or not you're coming from a good place or a bad place, and telling myself that next time I step out, I'm not going to give you a reason to feel that about me. How about that? So that is, and I feel like that is something that we as women, people like display it as a disadvantage, but then somehow we figured out how to make it an advantage for ourselves to make sure that we always deliver excellence. So, yes, that's all.
Okwa?
Okay, I mean, I think like in a way, yes, there are sometimes when being a woman can be like not a hindrance, but it can be like almost like, can you deliver? Just because you're a woman, are you sure that you can? Are you sure this woman will she really understand this thing? So I feel like it's on us to prove ourselves. It's on us to to show that we can. I mean, it's interesting because sometimes you meet people who allow their timid nature to decide for them. So they already put it out there that, oh, I can't, because I'm this and I'm that. And obviously that translates. So if there was a seat on the table, they wouldn't call you because you already kind of showed some sort of timid nature. Whereas if you're someone who is, assertive and you show up and you are delivering, regardless of how difficult it may seem, then more and more people will recognize like, forget that she's a woman, or she can do whatever needs to be done. It's part of our, I guess, culture that it seems like a woman should take the back seat. And unfortunately, it is what it is. But it's left to you, I think, personally, to say, you know what, it doesn't matter that I'm a woman. I don't remember the last time I thought about, because I'm a woman, XYZ. And I guess that's my personal choice. It doesn't really matter. I can have conversations with men. I can be on the same table with men. I would educate and equip myself to be able to stay relevant, to stay, to be called on. I strongly believe that, if I get a phone call today and someone says, hey, they're considering people for XYZ, do you want to be on board? And I ask myself, why did they think of calling me? There must have been a reason why they talked about me. So it gives me that push to say, I have to keep on this thing. I have to keep pushing. And I would say to anyone out there, you need to keep showing up. You need to keep delivering. You need to keep showing yourself. Remove the hindrances in your head, the barriers, and keep showing up. And it would reflect eventually.
So Oga just answered the next question I was going to ask. And so I was going to ask a question about imposter syndrome, but then she just said something about keep showing up. And that is actually something that is very important, because I realized that with women, and not necessarily just the creative industry, even in life, there is constantly that thing of, am I good enough, right? Am I like, can I do this, right? So even when sometimes you have men who show up and they can't do half of what you do, but they walk in and they get it. And then you're thinking, but wait, I can do it. I can even do 10 times better, right? So I like that when you said keep showing up, because that is something that, you just keep doing. So there's no need to dwell too much on the imposter syndrome now that we said that. Just keep showing up. So now my next question really about, women in the creative industry is like, with all these challenges that women are facing in the creative industry, do you think that enough is being done to help women in the industry, to encourage them, and to also get them to basically bring their seats to the table, as Annie said? Do you think enough is being done? And if we don't have enough being done, what can we do to encourage women in the creative industry? Anyone can start.
Okay.
Okay,
Or
so
is someone gonna say
let
something?
Ogwa start. Let Ogwa answer first.
I feel like so the question, or the reverse question, would now be, who is supposed to do the thing to help more women? Who is in charge of making sure women have opportunities? It's us. We have to make sure that other women have the opportunity. So if you take one step, you look back and you try and hold somebody's hand and bring them along. I strongly believe that, we need to look inwards. Like, are you helping somebody around you? Are you trying to give them the confidence, or to just push them? So say, for example, someone reaches out to you with some confidence problem. How do you help them to gain more confidence? How do you, impact in their lives? So I feel like, yes, it's easy to say, is there enough being done? But the question is really, who is supposed to do the thing? It's not a government thing. It's not a particular organization per se, even though, yes, companies can help have more quota for women, have more quota for jobs for women, different ways. In my case, in my business, I've employed quite a few women who are thriving, and I'm so proud, but the truth is, it's on everybody. It's on everybody to say, look, there's this woman, I need to pull her in. There's this woman, I need to help her, just because there's a disadvantage, and we can't even lie about that. But, yes, more can be done. More can definitely be done. But it's on everybody. I mean, as long as you have some sort of advantage, you can help somebody behind you. You can help somebody who you can see needs the help. You can pull them in. I mean, Annie, you're in acting. You could, have. So I know this girl who's really good. I've been seeing her videos on Instagram. I just need to find a way to give her some platform to express her creativity and her acting. And who knows, tomorrow she's in Hollywood. And that would be your proud moment where, oh my God, like, I can't believe she actually made it. So I guess there's someone out there waiting for you to help them somehow, and the universe sort of, if you put it out there that, look, you know what, I'm here and I can help other people, then it comes. The people who come around you, who you see you can promote and help, who are worth the help, because sometimes it's not everyone who really deserves the help. Some people are not ready to do what it takes, So anyway, that's my own contribution.
Yeah, Annie, you were going to say something. Okay, sorry, Shire.
I think for me, right, just like Oba said, a lot of times we waited for so long for other people to take a step and help us. Obviously, you're a woman, and forgetting that you also did a lot of work to get to where you are right now, and you also kind of saying forgetting that you're a woman, you also need all the help and get. And I think for me, one thing that I have noticed is I in my company, I have a lot of young women I work with. One of the issues I think that really helping people because used as part of use the platform for the agenda genuinely helping me, but then you're just trying to help the central that we genuinely look out for the people, look out for other women, like not in from a pretense, but then helping others out because you have felt what they're feeling or you're still feeling what they're feeling. So there's no other person better to provide a platform or provide an opportunity for people. And genuine opportunities too, because make people feel like
Okay, Shaya, I think your network. I think Shaya's network is breaking.
As a step up, we have to try to consider like not a phrase or a cause or something, but
Sorry, Shaya, your network as usual. This Nigerian network. It's breaking at one point. Yes.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Very well.
Okay,
Yes,
great.
perfect.
Okay, so I think the summary of what I was saying is like we as women should we're the ones that would definitely provide platforms for other women. And we should ensure that we're coming from a space, from a very genuine space, because I think I have actually even been in a position where someone I said, "Oh, I want to help you," but then down the aisle, you realize that, now down the road, you're like, "This wasn't really about helping you, was it? This was really about helping you." Let's be honest, you know. So I think. And I'm not trying to call out anyone. I'm just saying that I think that it's essential that when we're creating platforms and when we're reaching out to helping people, we're doing it from a space of feeling, like knowing that this is what I've gone through, and I can provide an opportunity for someone not to experience, or provide some achievable platform for this person to step on, without cause for appreciation or whatever, just because I genuinely want to make an impact in this space as well. That's it.
Yes, Annie. Thanks, Shaya.
Okay. So sort of going off of what both Ogwa and Shayo said, I think yes. Are there disadvantages? Is enough being done? No, enough isn't being done. Who's going to do it? The women. True. Create the right platforms and be genuine in your intention. A lot of that or all of that goes back to the state of your mind. I'm a mental health buff, so it finds its way into everything that I'm doing. I think that as women, let's leave the men aside, but as women, we have a general conditioning issue. There's this conversation I have with a lot of women, whenever I have the opportunity. They say, why do women not like each other? And I'm like, it's not that women don't like each other. Let me tell you what it is. By design, if you are in competition with something else for the same thing, you're genuinely just not good. That is your competition, right? As women, from childhood, you are trained that the cusp or the highest point of your life is being claimed in a certain way by romantic love, by a man. That's what it is. So if you go to school, if you're a professor, if you built an airplane and you're not married, there's something wrong with you. Because we've been conditioned like that. And the thing that we have all been conditioned to chase, other people are chasing. They become do you see what I'm saying? So there is a fundamental conditioning issue that women have. It's not our fault, but it's now our responsibility to change. Because if you don't go back into yourself and go back to where the building blocks of why you do what you do and why you are the way you are, if you don't do that, you're going to keep doing the same thing. You're going to bring a woman on, you're going to put her on, she's going to supersede you, and then you're going to cut her down because she superseded you. Because if she does supersede you, then they see her more than they see you. I know that this was not the general direction we're going in, but I think that one of the main reasons why there are not more opportunities for women is women. It's men, but it's women. Because you hear people say things like, Shebi, I went through it, you should go through it, die. Things like, you're laughing because you know it's true. Exactly. So we have to fundamentally change the way that we think. And we first start with ourselves. When a pretty woman walks into the room and you feel that prick of like, you don't know her, but you don't like her. Just because you have to tell yourself, this thing I'm feeling is jealousy and envy. And I'm feeling it for a reason that doesn't exist. Because my space and her space, they don't clash. And one doesn't cancel out the other. Do you see what I'm saying? By the time we get into that frame of mind, where you have men who don't mind putting themselves on, my G, my guy, my whatever, you will find that the spaces for women open up more. Because more women speak for women. More women write for other women and genuinely do so. They don't go around the back and turn to pick me as well, like, she didn't do it, but I will. You genuinely want good for another person because you genuinely want good for yourself. And you're whole enough to not be threatened by another person's success or progress. Do you see what I'm saying? So I think that would be one of the things that we can practically do within ourselves to, if you have to run a class 1 hour every day, say this would be I will not be jealous of other women class for 1 hour. Do it. I'm not even kidding. Do it. And then when you go out and it pinches you, take a rubber and pull it. Boom. Don't be jealous of it. But you start small like that. And then before you know it, you have a heart that is big enough for everyone and for yourself. And then those opportunities, they sort of become organic. Do you see what I mean? So that's what I would say to that question.
Yeah, thank you so much. Like you're dropping some real gems there, but thank you so much for that, Annie. Okay, so my last question, right? Well, I think it's my last question, but my last question really has to do with, the reason why we're here today, actually, which is about creative innovation and staying and staying innovative, right? Now, obviously, with the advent of COVID, all of a sudden, everybody's talking about creativity. Everyone is talking about, innovation. Everyone is like, oh, you need to be adaptable, you need to be flexible. These are things that have been there for a while. And obviously, those of us in the creative industry have been ahead of the game in this whole thing about flexibility and adaptability, right? You just find yourself where you're like, man, this is what is happening. No problem. Let's do this. And it's a lot of people who come from very structured environments, or maybe like they're more logical in their thinking than the creative side. They find it difficult to adjust into this new era that we're in. So as experts in the field, how what is your what would you say would be your number one tip to anyone who is struggling with staying innovative and also staying creative? Now, the reason I ask is because you're ladies who have for years, right? Annie, you've been in the industry for a while. So it's kind of like, how have you stayed innovative, right? As an actor, producer, writer. Then for Ogwa has been in the industry for years, like especially in the fashion industry. And so like I have a dress from like 2015, and it was one of those days I didn't even realize she was the designer. So she put up a picture and I'm like, wait, I have that dress. And I sent her the picture, like, oh, I actually had this dress. So how have you stayed innovative as well over time? And also for you, Shayo, how have you stayed innovative, doing this, coming from like a quote unquote structured environment and then into this environment where you're constantly writing new material, you're producing different things. How do you stay innovative within your creative skill?
Um, okay, I think I want to jump on that. I think one of the things that I think has really helped me is having a student mentality. And I feel like in every aspect of your life that's important, you have to keep learning. Like you have to keep learning. I feel like that is extremely important. You have to continue to um, learn new processes, new skills. Like every day, they stuff, especially if you're in production. Like, for example, like you buy a camera like in January, and by July, you're like, woohoo, brand two with a new, flying thing. And you're just like, what I just be learning how to use this one. So I feel like one of the most important things, and in every space as well, is to continue learning. Like, what I do, like, for example, your producer, like, startup here, so they're budgeting tools, they're scheduling tools. You can still get, oh, they want these tools. So there are things that help you do that now, that makes your life super easy. They're budgeting tools, there are all kinds of things. If you're writing, like, if you're writing, take a writing class, improve your skills, like, pick a new tool, try it out, like, write for people, send your work out, get feedback, improve on it. So I feel like that is what keeps you relevant. Like imagine like you go somewhere, you watch something in someone's house or they flash and they say, oh, I don't really believe in all of these things, and you just get there, you just have a VCR. And you're like, you can't even watch, like for some people feel like I'm okay where I am. There's no need, I've mastered this for the longest time. But then I feel like what's very important, irrespective of where you are as a creative and otherwise, to keep to the student mentality, which means that every opportunity to learn and to improve. And not just learn from a certain type of people, learn from everybody, learn from people that have gone ahead of you, learn from people that are your peers, learn from people that are coming behind you. When you have that kind of mentality, you will stay relevant because then, irrespective of what is dropped in front of you, you have a good knowledge of what it is and you know what it is to do. And that's what keeps you relevant. Like you can't walk into a meeting and someone says, oh, okay, we need our campaign now. We want to do a campaign on TikTok. Let me get back to you on that. And they're just asking you, it's essential that you keep the trends and you stay relevant. Actually, very, very important. So I feel like that would be like my number one MP for staying relevant. Keep learning.
Thank you for this. Keep learning. Yeah. Annie?
I'd say that understanding your position, understanding the power that you have, and not being afraid of it. Because what is innovation? It is taking something that exists, What is creativity, first of all? Something that doesn't exist, you take it from a place of your mind and bring it into reality. Innovation is taking that thing that already exists, turning it on its head, and presenting it to people in a way that they haven't yet had it before or haven't consumed it before. And all of a sudden, this thing that they've had for years is now new. And it's like, oh, we have to have it. And usually that leads to widespread commercial success. How do you move from a place of leaving things as they are because they are safe to innovating and possibly failing, but also possibly having the best success of your life? The Teslas, the Jeff Bezoses, all of those guys, even let me say the Beyoncés, since I'm talking from an entertainment perspective. Why is Beyonce still relevant till today? She's not the best singer in the world, even though some people, as they say, some people will kill me. It's not that. It is knowing what you possess. See, if you know who you are and you know what you have, even if it's one thing, you will know how to maximize that one thing and milk it till it is dry. So you have to be the sort of person who says, this is who I am, warts and all. This is what I know I bring to the table, and I'm going to bring it. And the people who are able to absorb it will, and the ones who will not that they will not, they will get on board eventually. Because let me tell you what happens with Beyonce, is even if you are not a Beyonce fan, just anybody that's listening, try this out today and see. Go and play one of her albums. Just play it and be going around your day. By the time that album is done, you find yourself, all the same ladies. I don't like Beyonce Joe. Then, all the same ladies. Because this is someone who has learned what she does. She has learned who she is, and she's using that to her advantage. She's a physically attractive woman. We're in a world where women are celebrated for their beauty. So she has not allowed herself be anything, not allowed herself be just that. She is a beautiful woman who is a talented woman. She's not singing songs the way she was singing them 10 years ago. So like Shayo said, she has gone to study and learn, not say, oh, because I'm a singer and I'm good, I'm great, people are just going to like what I do just because that's entitlement. And funnily enough, your audience, your consumers, they can tell when you're coming from an entitled place and they can dump your product because you will not put in the required effort to make it better. In our own industry, in the film industry, acting, producing, all of that stuff, for a woman, what I think and what I intend to do and what I'm trying to do is allow myself to escape, not just because, my life sucks. No, escape because escapism is one of the ways that the mind expands. That's one of the ways that your imagination expands. If you take it too far, then that's a bad thing. But within reason, when you allow your mind to jump from place to place, go into things, realms that you haven't even necessarily experienced in your physical life, then your mind expands and it grows. Then that is where your boldness and courage comes in to take what is here and put it here and say, okay, you know what? I'm going to tell a story about a woman who is not docile, who is not domesticated, who is not just subservient. I'm going to tell a story about a woman who has agency over her life and is not demonized because of it. Because what we have is we're telling those stories now, but when the women do have agency, they're demonized for it, even in the stories we're telling, because that's the reality that we face. A woman says, and I don't mean any offense to anyone here, but a woman says, I don't want to be a mother. And she's the devil. She's actually the devil's first child for saying that. As opposed to letting this person have the reality that is hers, because you bring children into this world and they suffer. Not everybody is meant to be a parent. So you tell stories about women in a light that has not been seen before. And you do that knowing that people are going to castigate you. People are going to call you names. They're probably not going to watch your film. And they're going to say you're spreading an agenda. You have to know what it is that you bring to the table, because everything that you're doing must come from a place of wholeness and it must come from a place of conviction. Without that, you won't do anything, or you won't do anything that is worth anything. Because the minute they start throwing the stones, you pick race and run away. But you do it from a place of conviction because you know that that is what you are supposed to be doing. The only way you know that is to study. The good book says you study to show yourself approved. So you go and study. You put in that work, you put in that sweat, and you don't tell yourself you're good enough. I know that there's this movement where it says, I'm good enough. Always tell yourself you're good enough. Yes, for your self-esteem. Yeah. But for the thing that you are bringing into this world that is going to leave an impact, that is going to change someone's life, even if it's just one person, no. Good enough is not enough. Good enough is how much people need it at the time and how it needs to be. So if yesterday 10 was what we needed, and today we need 15, and you're today at a 10, you're not good enough today. Does that make any sense? I'm not breaking anyone down, but I'm saying that good enough, especially for a woman and especially for purpose and impact, is not enough. You go through all the people in history, they never stopped at good enough. So for innovation and within the creative sector, push yourself to say, you know what? Good enough is the least that I'm going to be.
Thanks, Annie. Ogwa?
Okay, so I'm going to go a bit practical based on the question you asked. How do you stay relevant? First of all, shout out to Oladele. Thank you for your comments. He said he saw my WhatsApp status this morning and he joined. So first things first is, what do you enjoy doing as a person? I believe that, in becoming a creative person, you have to identify the things that you really enjoy doing. It helps with authenticity, because if you don't really enjoy what you are pushing or putting out there in the world, then it's kind of fake and it's difficult to sustain it. So the first thing is, what do you enjoy doing? List those things out. So let me give an example: gardening, flowers, cooking, fashion, film, photography, sightseeing and travel. Everything that, there are different things that people enjoy, cooking, all sorts, So what is it that you enjoy doing? List everything out. It doesn't have to be just one thing. It could be 5 things. The more, the merrier, because you can draw from each of those things. Then list them out. List them out and look at them, because you need to really be sure that you really enjoy those things. Don't just say, I can see my friend, she likes to do hair, so let me just follow her and do hair. Not everybody is meant to be doing hair. So you see someone who is doing so well with hair and you just want to join them, and you are now angry that you are not getting the success that they're getting. So do that and list it out and be sure. Again, it might take time to get your list together. It may not happen overnight. You just realize, I actually love shoes. And you can start a blog on shoes. You can start writing about shoes and it can become a huge thing. So that's where I'm coming from with that. What is your intention? What do you want to achieve? What is the thing that you really want to get out of this content that you are creating? Is it just for people to enjoy? Is it for you to make money from it? It's very important, because if it's for you to just enjoy, then that's fine. If it's for you to make money from, then you have to approach it from a different angle. I'll give an example. If you love food, so you decide that you want to start visiting restaurants, exploring food menus, there's so much content to create from there. You start out by now listing all the restaurants you could visit. And the first few ones, maybe you go there, you buy your food. As soon as you start to gain exposure, you will start to get restaurants say, hey, do you want to come and check out our place? Hey, do you want to come and taste our new Ofada sauce? And before you know anything, you will start to get offers. Because what will happen is people will come on your page to find restaurants to go and eat. It sounds crazy, but that's what actually happens. It's not rocket science. It's not like one kind of big calculation. It's how you present yourself that people will take you. So you really love food. You know how to talk about food. You know how to write about food. Then you now decide, and eventually I want restaurants to pay me to come and eat in their restaurant. It will happen. This is now where you have to be intentional and you have to put it out there that this is what I want to at the end. So you can't start out saying, I don't really know, I'm not really sure, and expect that somehow it's going to turn monetary. It won't happen like that. So you have to be sure of what you want. Now think about telling stories with everything. Everything is a story. It doesn't have to be serious. It can be the most unserious way, but just find a way to create stories out of everything and make it fun.
If you notice, comedians are the fastest growing people on social media because everyone wants to laugh. Somebody just starts comedy skits like yesterday, the next thing they're on 1 million followers. Not because you should focus on the number of followers, don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying it's so easy to get people to like you or follow you because you bring some sort of happiness. There's so much stress out there in the world. So even if you're creating content, make it fun. I love TikTok because TikTok allows me to see real people. I see people who are not afraid. There's a lady who maybe has Down syndrome, but she's creating content every day. There's a woman in her 60s, she's break dancing. She doesn't care that people are saying, are you not too old? Blah, blah, blah. And I go to TikTok to get inspired, to get motivated, because I see that people with all their different issues will still show up. There are people who are receiving cancer treatment. They are creating content. They are talking about their journey, all the treatments, the hospitals they are going, and people are drawing inspiration from it. So not that everything is, is fixed, but you will find ways around everything. And as soon as you know what your intention is, it makes it easier. Create content days. Not every day is content day. When you see people putting out content, they don't make content every day. I don't know if all of you are aware of this, but you cannot be in the mood every day. Some days are rough and tough. Some days are insanely bad. It happens to all of us. Don't look at someone and think you have it all figured out. You're so everything. No, nobody is. I woke up this morning, my son was throwing up. He had an exam. I had to make sure that blah, blah, blah. And I still have to get to I had to get to this Zoom meeting at 12 and my driver was out. I had to find a driver. Just look. So much happened this morning, but I came on this Zoom call and I'm talking like, oh, I have it all figured out. No, every single day will be tough. Some days will be so good. Some days will be bad. So set out some days where you create content. You can do content the whole day and that content will last you 3 months. That gives you that relevance that you need because even when you are lying in your bed saying, I hate the world, you are posting. And people don't know. Nobody needs to know what you are doing on that same day. You just have to show up like we have been saying. Collaborate. It's so important now more than ever. I gained so much from doing Instagram lives. I had never done Instagram lives before lockdown. My first Instagram live was lockdown. Sheila was on my live. Sheila gave me some serious content and all that. But the truth is, you have to collaborate because you will get stuck at some point. Sometimes you feel like, you're not gaining more exposure. People are not really like looking at your page anymore. You just need to find a way to say, oh, hey, this is my friend. We're going to create some content together. And your friend is posting it, you're posting it, you're getting more exposure from her followers, she's getting exposure from your followers, and it translates. So, relationships are key. Everything is about relationships. You don't have to be best friends with anybody, but just having that social media relationship where you can, reach out to people, you follow them, they follow you, you guys exchange ideas, will keep you relevant, will keep you in the know. So if there's ever a time when they're calling content creators to come and create some content, or there's some group work, for example, I had an offer from a restaurant and I was told I had to call like 3 or 4 content creators. Obviously, I started thinking of the relevant people. The people who I see a lot came to mind first. I was like, oh, this person. There might be somebody who was really good, but because she hasn't shown up for 2 months, I didn't remember her. There's a quote from the 48 Laws of Power. I'm going to find it and read it really quickly. If you just give me a minute, hold on. I need to read this and just use that to close because it's so key. 1 second, I'm going to read it really quickly. Hopefully I can find it. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so I'm reading it. It says, everything is judged by its appearance. What is unseen counts for nothing. Never let yourself get lost in the crowd or be buried in oblivion. Stand out. Be conspicuous at all costs. Make yourself a magnet of attention by appearing larger, more colorful, more mysterious than the bland and timid masses. A lot can be said from what you hear. Sometimes it doesn't appeal to you, it doesn't apply to you. However, when I read this, what it told me was, truly, if I don't post on my page for 3 months, what's going to happen? Nothing. It's okay, I don't feel like posting, but I shouldn't expect that when they are calling me to come and take one deal, they will remember. When they are calling people to come and take a deal, they might forget me because I'm not relevant. I'm not in the forefront. I'm not in their faces, showing up, putting out content, just doing my thing. And like I said, I don't have to create the content every day. I just need to create enough to keep putting out, and it will be based on what I like. So that's my 2 cents. I hope it helps somebody out there. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we're supposed to have Q&A, right? But we've gone over our time. I don't know if anyone has any questions. Please, you can just drop your question. We'll just give another, 2 to 3 minutes. But if we don't have any questions, I think I'll just wait to see if there's any questions. I'd like to thank everyone that has been on this call from the start to finish. It's been really enlightened. I feel like I'm going to go back to YouTube and watch this, just because like everyone has dropped some very, very key gems, and some of them I just want to repeat. So Shaya said it's important to keep learning, have that mindset of a student, right? Keep learning. And he said this thing of good enough is not enough, right? So it goes back to just keep learning, keep improving on yourself. And then it goes back to also Annie saying that, know who you are, like understand what you bring to the table and know who you are, what you bring to the table. And, finally, Ogwa came in with like, what do you enjoy doing? Know what your intention is, and also create good days or content days actually. And it's so having these tips is actually so important. And in a way, you guys have summarized our whole Jobberman soft skills training, right? Because on the soft skills training, we actually have this breakdown on like creativity and innovation. We talk about things like self-awareness, understanding who you are as a person. Obviously, because it's a training, we're very big on learning. And as a company, Jobberman, we're always big on learning. It's one of those things that I enjoy about working with Jobberman. It's every time like you're doing your assessment, it's kind of like, so how did you improve on yourself in this last quarter? So, and you have to say, I did this and I learned this, so I got a certificate here. So improving yourself is actually something that is very important. And it's not just people in the corporate world. As a creative as well, it is very important that you improve yourself. See what is out there. There's the University of YouTube, and there's the Google University. The more you research, the more you will find out things that are out there, and the more you will get better over time. Someone has asked the question, I think it's Ezra. Oh no, sorry, I said Ezra. It's Zaina. I'm sorry if I pronounced this wrongly. It says, what basic equipment does a content creator need? And that's the only question we have. So I think I will give that to Ogwa, because Ogwa is the one that's the regular. So what is the basic equipment does a content creator need?
I think basically you just need a phone. That's the first step. I think you need to simplify things. You can get, graduate into more serious equipment like cameras and drones and all that. But, start simple. Don't like kill yourself too much about being like perfect from the beginning. Again, having that your list is key. So once you have that list and you have a phone clear enough to do good videos and pictures, you have some editing apps like Lightroom or Snapseed, you can then start to work on like your personal content. Because I think sometimes people believe that, you have to have photographers, and they're, spending money constantly trying to get the right, but it's difficult to sustain that. And we're talking about relevance, right? Remaining relevant. Remaining relevant over a period of time, you won't be able to cope with paying photographers. So start with a good phone, invest in a good phone with a good camera, have some good apps, and start from there. If you eventually, drone images are amazing. So, if you can, you invest in drones and you start to do aerial shots where it's like dramatic and people are like, oh my God, wow, but eventually you will graduate as it leads, as things start to expand for you. Your mind will work perfectly because, as you do one thing, it gives you ideas to do other things. You keep yourself creative so that more juices can flow. So I'd say a very good phone and good apps. Start from there.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that, Ogwa. Okay, so because we have gone over by 25 minutes, thank you so much, ladies. Well, I'll speak for myself and then I'll speak for the team. But I'm very excited that you guys were able to join. I've learned a lot from you guys. I mean, and to think that I actually know you guys offline, but I've learned a lot from you today. And also the team as well. We're very grateful. So for everyone that joined, thank you so much. Please feel free to share the link. So if there's anyone who you think will learn from this, please feel free to share the link. Let them know, let them learn from what we have shared today. So thank you so much. All right. Take care, everyone. All right. Bye.
Bye.